So, episode 6, somehow we made it here. Today we're going to be talking about a topic which is actually really important to all of us, but is something that maybe we don't necessarily always see or recognize or realize, and that's product and UX. So I'm George Holman, your host, and I'm joined by Hannah. Hannah, would you be able to give everyone a brief introduction to yourself?
Yes, hi George. I'm Hannah Hammond and I'm head of product at What Caused This.
Super. Thank you, Hannah. So I guess a little bit of fun, an icebreaker question, if you will, that we ask everyone at the beginning of every episode. If you had to call out one feature or function, something UX related that when you see it in a piece of software or an app really makes you happy, what would it be?
I would say it's less of a feature and more just a product being really, really intuitive, really easy to use, no confusion over any questions, and you can get into the product, do whatever you need to do and get out like seamlessly. That's good UX for me.
Okay, fantastic. Mine is a lot more simple, I think. Sticking on the simple theme, mine is around gamification. So I love it when you go into a coffee shop and you get rewarded with a free coffee, partly because I'm a coffee fiend as well. And I guess staying on that kind of topic, for those that might not be as familiar with product and user experience, what does it mean to you, Hannah?
I think it centres around making sure that you're building the right thing for your product's clients. So there's a bit of prioritisation there.
Mm-hmm.
And after you've decided what you're building, ensuring that it has that seamless user experience from start to finish, so people aren't left wondering, what do I need to do in this part of the software?
And in your role, Hannah, do you spend the majority of your time with users or with development teams, or is it both?
It's a bit of both.
Okay.
I speak to clients a lot to understand how they're using the product and what they need, through to spending time in design and ensuring we have those good journeys through the platform, all the way through to working with the development teams to see how it's all coming together.
Okay. And so what I heard there you say as well is that you spend a lot of time with clients kind of talking about what they need. I guess by extension, it is about problem solving for our clients when it comes to what they require. So there are similarities between UX and root cause analysis.
Yes, I'm fairly new to the root cause analysis world. I've been working with What Caused This full time for 6 months, but I was working with them quite a while before that too. And I thought I was quite new to it, and I've realised that there's so many similarities between how I work in the UX world and root cause analysis that we may call things like different things, but there's so many similarities. Both are problem solving roles at their core.
Okay, and maybe we'll dig a little bit further into that during this episode. So I guess one thing, and it is relevant to root cause analysis as well, but one thing that we always look to talk about is the usage of evidence and data to make sure that we're making the right decisions, we're prioritizing correctly. I guess the process of how we do that, how from a UX perspective do you collect that evidence to make sure that we're making the right decisions?
So it is through speaking to clients, and anyone at What Caused This knows that any sort of little bits of information about the client's workflow or how they're using our software, we need to collate all of that information as much as we can to ensure that we design can keep designing a really good product. And one of my favourite ways to collate this information is I was lucky enough to sit with a client a couple of weeks ago, and it's like all about observations. They actually showed me their day-to-day process of how they would use the product, and our level of understanding by doing something like that goes up so much. It was really interesting to see.
And I find it's so true with a lot of what we do actually is so much more about show me rather than tell me. So, when we're providing demos of the platform, or when we're having an introductory meeting with a client, often we would just say, we don't need to tell you, we will just show you, and we get into the details. So it's really interesting to know that also applies from a UX perspective as well.
Yeah, that's right.
And in terms of, so we've spoken a little bit around the how we get the evidence. What sorts of evidence do you find are most relevant from a UX perspective?
It's always good to know the problem that we need to solve, but often when we're receiving feedback, design feedback in particular, a lot of people tend to talk in terms of solutions. So it's quite common that someone would say, what I really need here is a drop down menu, and then I'll click this, and then I want this to be displayed. And I see that as my job to drill down into what is it that you actually need, rather than how you want to solve it, because that might be the solution, and that might be the solution that we go with. It's always good to hear those things from different people, but we obviously have to think about the whole product, how it works together, how other people are using it. And so if we can drill down to the root of what the problem is, then we've got a better way of solving it as a whole and as part of everything else.
And that's so interesting, Anna, because again, when we come to problem solving, or when we're responding to an incident, and we've actually spoken about it before on a prior episode, that there is this tendency to kind of rush towards an answer, and it might be the right answer, right? As you said, it might be the right solution or feature,
Yeah.
but equally it might not. And being able to take that time and space to understand, I've got this evidence in front of me, this data in front of me, what is it telling me, where has it come from, etc., etc., and kind of putting your head up and thinking, what is the best possible solution, as opposed to what is the first one we can reach for, is really important.
That's right.
So I guess from a UX perspective, but equally just from a tech building perspective, we just spoke a little bit around going after the first thing. Naturally, there is going to be a list of things that has to be done that are short term, and a list of things that are going to have to be done that are more long term or strategic.
Yeah.
How as kind of the product lead, do you balance that?
I think that it's a case of we have a big prioritization board where we assess all the feedback, and it helps to decide what we're going to build next. And we know the two things that really affect user experience are the efficiency and the effectiveness of the product. So it's, if you're using a software to achieve a particular goal, it is, can I do this goal within the software, and is it quick and easy for me? And so we might have feedback, or do a piece of research and find that someone can't actually do their journey through the product at the moment for that particular goal. And so in that example, we would look to say, well, we can put it in really nicely, make it really easy to use, but to the client or customer right there and then, if they can't do it at all, it won't matter if to them if it's really super easy to use. They'll just need to be able to do it right there and then. So in that case, we would look to let's put it in the short term really quickly, get it so that they can use it, and then take a view that we can make it a bit easier to use further down the line. So it's just a balance of everything and balancing it against other things that we need to do as well.
So I guess just playing back what I've heard, just to ensure my understanding right, is sometimes actually then the answer is something can be done in the short term that leads to something in the long term. It doesn't always have to be one or the other. And we also talk about this a lot from a root cause analysis perspective, particularly around solutioning, is that I think there is a mindset or a stigma that long-term strategic solutions are good, short-term are therefore bad. But actually, short-term solutions that work and are effective can be really good. And that's where I guess the balancing act is looking when to prioritize those.
Yes, in design, even for a short-term solution, we might even go as far to design the long-term solution and check that we're not putting any blockers in our way for when we come back to it later down the line. But it might be to actually just get that first iteration into the product straight away as the short-term solution, knowing that we can come back round and place in the long-term solution eventually.
Okay, so it's having that agility to be able to offer the outcome or the value that can then incrementally be built upon towards the long-term solution.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to put the blockers in your way by delivering a short-term solution, and that means you can't do the long one.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And so from a what calls this perspective, you've spoken a little bit around the platform itself. Would you be able to share with those watching and listening, a little bit around what has changed recently, what, we've been up to?
Yes, we've made quite an effort to change the design ecosystem. A lot of our users will notice that a lot of the different content has changed quite dramatically. There wasn't anything really wrong with how we were presenting the software before, but there was a lot of gain that we could make in terms of making things easier to use, pick up and use straight away. We had a lot of wording in the initial version, and it's things like changing where you might have a paragraph of text into a chart, so that anyone coming into the software, you've almost got to think of what's the first, second and third thing that they need to see. They don't need 3 big lots of text to read through. They just need things that will grab their eye, which will send them down whichever path they want to go. So we've done quite a lot of work on that will, just speed up workflows. We're hoping that people will spend less time in the platform to go to reach their goal, but that obviously means that they can get into the platform even more and solve more things. So that's one of the things that we want to change there.
Okay, thank you. And I think one of the kind of light bulb moments that I had with the platform that you have helped me with is seeing that, our solution is part of a user's journey, right? That often, let's say they have an incident, it will start outside of the platform and it may end outside of the platform. I guess in your mind, how do we understand that, where we fit in that ecosystem?
I think it is just that, in that people very rarely use products, apps, services, just to go in and have a look around. It's understanding that every time somebody goes to open your software, they have a goal in mind of what they want to achieve. And so we need to present the platform in such a way that as soon as they open it, there's navigation elements where they can easily understand where to go to do their specific goal, and they want to get through that path as quickly and easily because they're just after the outcome. So in a way, whilst you're using it, you're not so interested in the design. You just want it to work well and carry on with your day. So that's also one of the things that we'd like to achieve.
Okay. And then outside of kind of the functionality element, would you be able to explain a little bit about kind of the styling elements, the visual and why that's so important?
Yeah, so as well as the way things work, you have these like overarching design heuristics, which very famous Jacob Nielsen's 10 usability heuristics for design. And one of them, for example, is design consistency. So people will find it easier to use a product if all of the elements are consistent with each other. Like every time there's a link, it's in the same colour, same style, but also consistent with other products and services that they use. So you don't want to reinvent the wheel with design. You want to use things that people are familiar with. And another one is to do with user feedback. You press a button and you want to see by pressing that button, what has changed. You don't want someone to be sitting there pressing it 3 times thinking that nothing's worked. So it's important that the styling is consistent. One of the things that we have done recently is we've tried to improve the colour contrast, because one of our goals is to make the product really accessible. So we've got all of these design elements coming in as well to bring together a cohesive journey from it's easy to use, it works for what I need to do, and it's easy to use.
And that's so interesting, right? Because just leaning back into the kind of root cause analysis thinking, it's challenging ourselves in terms of, why do we need to do something, and also why was something done in a certain way before, analysing what has happened, what needs to happen, before then coming out with the right solution based on data, evidence and information. So again, there is that crossover between user experience, product design, and also, RCA as a mindset and a way of doing things.
Yes, yeah, there's just so many similarities. Like I say, I might call them something different, but there is so many similarities. It's made me realise that root cause analysis is, like I say, just problem solving at the core, and it is very, very similar to what I do for the product. Yeah.
So then, kind of turning that back around, what are the benefits in your mind, Hannah, of setting up a UX function with a team of people that understand RCA? They don't need to be experts, but having that understanding. What do you see as the benefits?
I think that it's notoriously difficult to set up a product and UX function within a business that relies on data, and I think we talked about it recently. Not what the hippo says, the highest paid person in the office.
Yeah.
The ideal is all data driven, and so working with a group of people who understand root cause analysis, understand why it's so important to be data driven.
Mhm.
It's just been so easy to set up these things and have the conversations about why you would do certain things in a certain way. So yeah, I'm very much enjoying it so far, having this. I think that me understanding what terms I use and the terms that are used in root cause analysis, that's only going to help me more.
And it's, yes, the hippo analogy where you've got, someone at the top of the business demanding stuff. Actually, that can lead to quite a lot of kind of bias in decision making, and
Yes,
like, obviously we are about as far away from that as we can be as a business, but I can imagine that could lead to things being built that are not just potentially the wrong things, but are also going to have clients with their heads in their hands, going, "Why did you make this decision?" Because you haven't asked us. So making sure that you're reliant on data that is going into your decision making process, your prioritization process, is similar to RCA. You're making, you're creating science around decisions, but it's going to lead to such a more rich, effective product.
that's right. I mean, probably the worst thing that you can do is build something just because anybody thinks it's a good idea, and then no one uses it,
Mm,
because building software can be quite expensive, and so yeah, it's really important that you spend any money on, as I said at the start, building the right thing. So yes, there's many ways that you can go wrong in that if you're not using data to drive your decisions.
okay, super. So stepping into our DeLorean for a second, if we go into the future, Hannah,
Yeah.
what can we expect in, coming with the product?
So it's not the next thing that's going to be going live soon. We're going to be having a few releases to work towards it, but the thing that I'm most excited about is a new create flow, which is
Mm,
what we're calling it internally. To anyone using the product, it will be when you get into the platform and you want to create a new root cause analysis, it's that setup process of the
mm,
information that you have to enter. And um, we've identified through research, talking to quite a few clients about the different ways that people are using our product. And we have several people, almost like with different use cases, want to use it in different ways. And we've put all of that together, including wanting to make it easier for people to get into the platform. And the new design it it will look fantastic. It will look a lot better. So on the surface level, that's probably what people will notice first.
mm,
But I I believe that it's going to save people a lot of time again. I, we've gone from like a 3-page form to a 1-page form, cut down a lot of the mandatory questions
mm.
and also the way we ask the questions. We've simplified the language a lot more, so everybody will still be able to do exactly what they do at the moment. We're not taking anything away, but yes, another thing that should hopefully get people to their goals quicker and easier.
Okay, fantastic. Um, so I guess if I were to summarize our discussion, right, aside from my silly question at the beginning, I think we've spoken a little bit around evidence and using kind of data to drive our decisions and that roadmap. Um, in terms of solutions, making sure that we're building the right thing. But with that will be a mix of short term and long term, and kind of how we come
Yeah.
to that decision. Spoke a little bit around the kind of what has happened recently with the platform and what is coming in the
Yeah.
future. But then also the parallels between kind of product and UX, and then also root cause analysis as well,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Um, So I guess, Hannah, if you wanted to leave people watching and listening with kind of one key takeaway, what would it be for you?
Gosh, I just hope that, because a lot of our customers obviously do root cause analysis day to day.
Mm.
I just like them to understand that we're doing our very best to put in those data driven solutions, and we're following the process that should be able to get us to a really, really superb product in the future. The DeLorean, as you say.
Super. All right, look, thank you so much for your time, Hannah. And thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Until next time, we'll say goodbye.
Thank you.